Hello. I caught a cold. My voice will be sexier.
There's the moral argument.
Morality. It is a very important thing. If Dr. Craig is so brilliant and has to say things about morality,
The moral argument. Here's a simple moral argument for God's existence. Premise one, if God does not exist, then objective moral values and duties do not exist. Two, objective moral values and duties do exist. Three, therefore, God exists. What makes this little argument so powerful is not only that it's logically ironclad.
let's hear if he says something of substance.
Premise one states, if God did not exist, objective moral values and duties would not exist.
The first premise shouldn't be used because he already sneaks God in it. And this argument is intended to prove it.
The existence of objective moral values and duties in the world.
He repeats, like a demented parrot, this inane, incoherent phrase, objectively existing moral values. But in order to be objective, I will consider the picture that he presents as true, and we are trying to see if there is inner consistency in it. Okay? Objectively existing moral values. How do they exist? In what form?
So it seems to me that without God as a transcendent anchor for moral values and duties, that there really is no objective right and wrong, good and evil.
There are two possibilities. Either they are in God, and then he imparts them in some way onto people, or they exist independent from God as well. If they are in God and he imparts them on people, how does he do that?
I have a personal relationship with him. His spirit lives within me.
As regards Christians, he says that there is a link, they have a personal relationship with God, there is a connection. Presumably that's how he imparts those moral values to them. What kind is this link? What is this connection? What form does it take? Is it energy? Can it be detected by technology or by senses? If we accept that Christians get their morals from God, how do Muslims and Jews get their values?
Our moral duties are constituted by God's commands.
If this is also true for Jews and Muslims, then they perceive other objectively existing moral values. Don't eat pork. Get circumcised, or circumcise your male child. Do those moral values also exist? They are not moral values for everybody. Then, what about atheists? He says that atheists are moral as well. They don't have any link or connection with God. They don't feel him in his body. How do they get their moral values? If he says that atheists have been believers and they got their morals, then they forgot about it, stopped believing in God, but that is how they still have their morals. I am an example of the contrary. I have never known God. I have never been educated in religion.
Or in a universe without God, good and evil as such do not exist.
I think all this makes the picture he presents very incoherent. So we considered one possibility: moral values exist objectively in God. The other possibility is they are out of God. And actually he says exactly that. If moral values are independent from mind.
I prefer to speak of objective moral values, by which I mean mind independent.
He presents God as mind, so they must be independent of it as well. Then, if we consider that position, moral values exist objectively, independent from mind, no matter the opinion of people. Then, how do they exist? In what form?
I think that there's no more reason to deny the objective reality of moral values than there is to deny the objective reality of the physical world.
Moral values are not objects. So they are immaterial things, and they exist objectively. Here we have one contradiction. But anyway, we have agreed that we will accept Craig's way of thinking and see if it is logical. If moral values exist objectively, how many of them there are? They can't be an infinite number, because objectively existing is the same as actually existing. And he says that actually existing thing cannot be infinite in number, because that leads to a contradiction, to paradox.
But the real existence of an actually infinite number of things leads to metaphysical absurdities.
In conclusion, we see that moral values are definite in number. What exactly are they? If Dr. Craig knows for sure that moral values exist objectively, independent from us, he must know what they are. I would expect him to enumerate what moral values are. There is another thing. If we have the moral value of love your child, then torture a child, it must be the same moral value, only with a negative sign. Do moral values have a positive and negative sign, plus and minus? Take the following moral value. To kill a human being is bad. This is a moral value with a negative sign. But take the following situation. Is it bad to kill Dr. Mengele from Auschwitz? Does the moral value switch signs in this case? Does it get a positive sign? Who switches the sign? And how is this imparted on human beings? How are humans informed of that? Then if you take the case of the track paradox, you have a train hurtling along a track. There are 5 people sitting there, and the train will kill them. But there is a switch, and you are at this switch. You can change the direction of the train. It would go on a different track, but there is one person there. To kill a human being, this person is bad. But to let 5 people be killed is also bad. There is a gradation. It is more bad. It is worse. Who switches the sign of this moral value, and how is the person standing at the switch informed of it? These objectively existing moral values in an immaterial form, do they have shape or size? One moral value, don't kill a human being, is more important than another moral value, don't cheat at an exam. Is one moral value bigger than the other one because it is more important? And then the same question as in the previous possibility still stands. How are these moral values imparted in a certain situation onto humans, if they exist objectively? If I have missed some important things in this video, I probably have, I would love it if some of you make response videos and add to what I have said or criticize me. That would be welcome. And I must say, I love your comments. Some of them are very intelligent and they make me think. Thanks for listening, and bye until the following time.
Our moral duties are constituted by God's commands. And so I think God can command us to do something which in the absence of a command would have been a sin. God commanded Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, and therefore it was not murder for Abraham to do what God had commanded him to do. I do think that homosexual activity is morally wrong, and I would say that on the basis of God's revelation in Scripture. Richard Dawkins is a stubborn moralist. He vigorously condemns such actions as the harassment and abuse of homosexuals.